Lots of love. This is your host, Will Donato, and next our musical journey takes us to Manassas, Virginia, home of my good buddy and super percussionist, composer, producer, pianist Curtis McCain. Curtis is a first-call percussionist who has worked with the likes of yours truly, Will Donato, Ollie Silk, Carol Albert, Earth, Wind & Fire, Jonathan Butler, Marion Meadows, and so many more. Curtis, welcome to the show. Can you please tell our audience about your journey to becoming a professional musician?
Hey, Will. Hey, Jack. Thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be on your show. Tell the audience a little bit about my journey into becoming a professional musician. I'm a third-generation musician, grew up around music my whole life. So basically, my grandfather, Joe McCain, was a jazz trumpeter, and my father, Mike McCain, was a jazz saxophonist who played tenor and soprano sax. He was a percussionist, playing congas and other hand percussion instruments as well. And he sang. So he was also considered a vocalist. Those were his three strong skills, and he utilized them very well. And so growing up since birth around all this music, and, he'd listen to a lot of, funk, salsa, Latin jazz, and all that music really resonated with me. So just growing up immersed in that music that he would listen to and being around my father and his friends and, hanging out with them when they would come over to the house for rehearsals and, just kind of, absorbing all of that. It just felt right, and I knew there was something about, especially salsa music. I knew there was something about it that I liked. Even though I couldn't understand the words they were singing about, the music within itself moved me. Even at a young age, I didn't know what the emotion was, but I knew it felt good. And I knew that I wanted more of it. So anyway, fast forward to becoming a young adult, after learning how to play, I would go out with my father on his gigs as a roadie. So I would help them with their gear, bringing it in, setting it up, all that good stuff. And then, they always knew I could play, but it wasn't until I got a little bit more seasoned in my playing that they would call upon me to join them on stage. And they would give me a feature, on the congas, and I'd take a solo, and the audience at the time would chew it up. They loved it. So, after the gig, I'd always get great feedback and, kudos and all kinds of praise. And, even at that time, I wasn't even considering becoming a professional musician. I was just doing it more like a hobby. I knew I liked it. It was fun. But it really wasn't until one of my dad's buddies reached out to me personally and wanted to hire me for a gig that he had going on. And it was actually, I remember exactly who it was. Shout out to my brother, Laurice McCoy Ajua, LMO Entertainment. Like back in 1999, he was the first person to actually hire me for a professional gig. And I remember exactly, and we actually gigged a few times until, I moved over to Virginia. And it really wasn't until I moved to Virginia in 2003 is when I really sought out to becoming a full-time musician and really pursuing being a professional musician as a career choice.
Curtis, your brand new incredible single, Gridlock, includes a world-class horn section with a who's who collection of renowned musicians, such as trumpeter Michael Stever, saxophonist Carl Cox, my dear friend on saxophone, Andrew New. No wonder this jamming tune is already ascending the charts. What is the backstory behind the creation of this tune, and how were those sizzling hot horn arrangements crafted?
Wow. So, Gridlock. Yeah. Gridlock is uniquely special to me for lots of reasons, but one specifically, this was a song that it was one of those things where I was, at the time I was, kind of balancing both my 9-to-5 corporate gig and my 5-to-9 music gig. So this was one of those moments where I was driving home from my corporate gig, sitting in commuting traffic, and you know, thinking about, going home, getting home, and logging on and working on some music. So, I was just kind of, how us musicians do. We scat ideas, or hum melodies, or sing melodies, or come up with riffs, just bebopping and scatting. And so I was doing that this day on my way home from work. Stuck in commuting traffic, not really moving, windows down. Just kind of taking my mind away from the sitting. So in the midst of all that humming and scatting, I actually scattered that line, the which is the hook of Gridlock. And so instantly, I was just kind of all one that day, and I was like, I did that, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that might be something there. I just knew that it was special. So I got home immediately, went to my studio and did a mock-up track of it. It was always in my mind that whenever I do release my debut single or put out my first piece of music, it would be this song. And I always kind of talking about the horns. I know you mentioned the horns, so talking about that, I grew up listening to a lot of Henry Mancini big band stuff, Duke, Count Basie, Cab Calloway, all those cats, and so I knew I wanted that element. It just had that feel like that I wanted to capture that, kind of all the things that influenced me as an artist. I wanted to kind of capture those genres and influences into this song. And, so I kind of did a mock-up horn track in there. And then when I brought it to my producer, Ollie Silk out in the UK, shout out to him. We kind of crafted the horns together, And then when I brought it to Andrew New, who's also on the track with his guys, Mike Stever and Nick Lane, trumpeter and trombonist, they really took it to a whole nother level. So between the three of us, Ollie Silk, Andrew New, and myself, we really kind of crafted the horns and arranged them together. So it was basically a team effort for that piece in particular.
my, what a wonderful guest we have today, Curtis McCain. Welcome back. I'm just enjoying chatting with super percussionist Curtis McCain. Curtis, thank you so much for coming on the show and making such a wonderful contribution. All the very, very best to you along your musical journey.
And Will, best of luck to you on your musical journey as well. If anyone would like to know more about me, you can always visit me on my website, which is curtismccainpercussion.com.
Oh my, what a great show. I wanted to thank you all so very much for tuning into my 34th Will Donato and Friends radio show, broadcasting 4 times a day, every day of the week. You can see the radio schedule by clicking on the Schedule menu tab on our website at smoothjazzliveradio365.com. I hope you had as much fun listening as we had creating this broadcast. Can't wait to see you.